My name is Beatrice Coleman, and I am 65 years old. What I am about to tell you is not a short tale. It is the full story of how my only son, the child I carried for 9 months, nursed through fevers and loved with every fiber of my being, tried to murder my husband, his own father, for $500,000. It is the story of how greed can rot a soul from the inside, how love can endure the unimaginable, and how truth, no matter how long it takes to surface, will always find its way out. This is my truth, told in every painful detail, because some stories deserve to be told slowly, completely, so that no one ever forgets what happened. Let me take you back to the very beginning, because to understand the betrayal, you have to understand what was betrayed. I was born in 1959 in Willowbrook, a small town in upstate New York where everyone knew everyone, and the biggest event of the year was the county fair. My father was a school janitor, my mother a seamstress. We were poor, but we were rich in love. I learned early that happiness wasn't about money, it was about the people sitting around the dinner table. In 1979, when I was 20, I started waitressing at Millie's Diner on Main Street. That's where I met Harold Coleman. He was 22, tall, broad-shouldered, with kind hazel eyes and hands that were always stained with engine grease. He came in every Tuesday and Thursday after work at his uncle's auto shop. He'd sit at the counter, order black coffee and the breakfast special, and talk to me while I refilled cups. One Thursday in October, he finally worked up the courage to ask me out. "Beatrice," he said, cheeks red under the fluorescent lights, "would you let me take you to the movies Saturday night? They're showing that new Star Wars picture." I said yes before he even finished the sentence. We fell in love fast and hard. Harold was gentle, funny, and the hardest working man I'd ever met. He bought the auto shop from his uncle in 1981, renamed it Coleman's Repairs, and poured his heart into it. We married in June 1982 in the little white church on Elm Street. I wore a simple lace dress my mother altered from her own wedding gown. Harold wore his only suit. We had 50 guests, potluck food, and a cake baked by Millie herself. It was perfect. Our son, Alexander James Coleman, Alex, was born on March 14, 1983. When the nurse placed him in my arms, I cried harder than I ever had in my life. Harold stood beside the bed, tears streaming down his face, whispering, "He's beautiful, Bee. He's just perfect." We brought him home to our little 2-bedroom house on Maple Lane, the same house we live in today, and our family was complete. Alex was our world. As a baby, he had colic and cried for hours, but Harold would walk the floors with him, singing old Johnny Cash songs until he settled. When Alex took his first steps, Harold cheered like he'd won the lottery. I have a photo of that moment. Alex toddling toward his daddy with the biggest grin, Harold on his knees with arms wide open. We weren't rich, but we gave Alex everything we could. Harold taught him to fish in Willow Creek, how to change oil, how to throw a perfect spiral. I taught him to read before kindergarten, baked chocolate chip cookies every Friday, and never missed a school play or baseball game. When he was bullied in 3rd grade for wearing hand-me-down clothes, Harold sat him down and said, "Son, a man's worth isn't in his wallet, it's in his word and his work." Alex hugged him tight and never forgot it. At least, that's what I thought. Alex was smart, top of his class. He played varsity football, was president of the student council, and got a partial scholarship to SUNY Albany for business. When he graduated in 2005, we were bursting with pride. He landed a job at a financial firm in Manhattan, moved to the city, and that's when things started to change. At first, it was small things. Alex met Laura Whitmore at his firm, a sharp, ambitious corporate lawyer from Connecticut. They married in 2008 in a lavish wedding we could barely afford to contribute to. We flew to New York for the ceremony, a rooftop venue in Manhattan, string quartet, designer, everything. I wore the same dress I'd worn to his college graduation, altered to fit. Laura hugged me politely and said, "Beatrice, you look nice." When our granddaughter Emily was born in 2010, we thought things would get better. And for a while, they did. Alex brought her to Willowbrook often those first couple years. Harold would push her on the tire swing he'd hung from the old oak tree, and I'd make her tiny pancakes shaped like hearts. But as Emily grew, the visits became less frequent. "Work is crazy, Mom," Alex would say. "Laura's up for partner. We're swamped." Then came the comments about money. In 2015, during one rare visit, Alex walked through our house like he was appraising it. "Mom, Dad, this place is worth something now. You could sell, downsize, have money to travel, live a little." Harold laughed it off. "Son, the only traveling I want to do is to the creek with my fishing pole." But Alex kept pushing. "You should at least update your life insurance, for Mom's sake. What if something happens to you, Dad? How would she manage?" Harold was 58 then, healthy as a horse, but Alex wore him down, brought papers to the house one Sunday after church. "It's just prudent planning, Dad. $500,000 policy, beneficiary can be me, but it's really for Mom. I'll make sure she's taken care of." Harold signed. I remember him saying, "If it makes you feel better, son, sure." I thought it was sweet, our boy looking out for us. We had no idea he was drowning in gambling debts. Alex had started gambling in college, small bets on football games. By the time he was in his 30s, it was online poker, sports betting, trips to Atlantic City. Laura wanted the lifestyle. Private schools for Emily, vacations in the Hamptons, designer clothes. Alex borrowed from shady lenders to keep up. By 2022, he owed over $250,000. Creditors were calling the house. Threats. One even showed up at his office. Laura was furious, threatening divorce if he didn't fix it. Alex saw only one way out: the insurance policy. He started planning in early 2023, researched drugs that would sedate but not kill immediately. Ketamine, easy to get from a veterinarian contact who owed him a favor. Researched how to stage a hanging suicide, bought rope, practiced knots, chose our basement because it was private, soundproof. Harold noticed something was off. Alex was asking strange questions. "Dad, do you ever feel depressed, like life is too much?" Harold brushed it off as concern, but he was uneasy. In August 2023, he installed a nanny cam in the basement toolbox, just for security, Bia, with all the break-ins around. He never told me why he really did it. October 17th, 2023, a Tuesday. Harold closed the shop early. We had meatloaf for dinner, his favorite. Watched Jeopardy, laughed at the answers we got wrong. Went to bed around 10. Harold fell asleep quickly, his arm around me like always. I woke at 3:17 a.m. The bed was empty, cold. "Harold?" I called softly. No answer. I got up, slipped on my robe, checked the bathroom. Nothing. Kitchen? Living room? Then I went to the basement door. It was closed. Unusual. I opened it, turned on the light, and screamed. Harold was hanging from a beam, rope around his neck, feet inches off the floor, a wooden chair tipped over beneath him, his face purple, eyes closed. On the workbench, a note in his handwriting. "I'm sorry, B. I can't go on anymore. The pain is too much. Tell Alex I'm proud of him. Love you forever. Harold." I collapsed, screamed until my throat was raw. Neighbors called the police. They came, cut him down. He was cold. The coroner pronounced him dead at the scene, suicide by hanging. Alex arrived within 30 minutes, impossibly fast from the city. He held me while I sobbed. "Mom, oh God, Dad, why didn't he say anything?" Laura was there too, pale, hugging Emily, who was crying and confused. The next days were a blur. Alex handled everything, the funeral home, the cremation. He insisted, said Dad wouldn't want to be buried, the obituary. He wouldn't want a big fuss, Mom. The service was small, just family, a few customers, neighbors. I wore black, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. At the cemetery, as they lowered the urn into the ground, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stepped away, answered. A whisper, weak, familiar. "B, it's me, Harold." I nearly dropped the phone. "I'm alive, drugged, kidnapped, basement, old cabin. Alex, he did this. Call police, don't trust him." The line went dead. I thought I was losing my mind. Another call came that night. Coordinates, an address, Cabin 17, Pine Ridge Road, 50 miles north, owned by Alex's college friend, Mark. I called Detective Maria Ramirez. She'd known Harold for years. Her husband brought his truck to the shop. I told her everything. She didn't dismiss me. "Mrs. Coleman, stay calm, we're coming." They found him at dawn on October 21. Harold, dehydrated, bruised, wrists raw from chains, but alive. He'd escaped 2 days earlier, worked the rusted chain loose over hours of agony, climbed out a tiny basement window, hid in the woods for days, eating berries, drinking stream water, found a hunter's abandoned phone in a blind, called me. The cabin had everything: chains bolted to the floor, ketamine vials, Alex's fingerprints, a laptop with searches, how long does ketamine last, staging suicide hanging, fastest life insurance payouts, and the nanny cam footage recovered from the cloud backup Harold had set up. Crystal clear, time-stamped, Alex entering our house at 11:47 p.m. with a duffel bag, going upstairs, injecting Harold while he slept, dragging his limp body downstairs, staging the hanging, rope loose enough not to kill immediately, taking photos, writing the note, handwriting experts later proved it was forged, pressure inconsistencies, cutting Harold down, loading him into his SUV, driving away. Alex was arrested that afternoon at his office in Manhattan. Laura, too. She'd known. Texts between them. "Once the money clears, we're free. Make sure Mom doesn't suspect. Burn the rope after." The trial lasted 3 months, January to March 2024. Alex's defense, Harold was suicidal, faked his own kidnapping for attention, planted the evidence. It was laughable. The prosecution played the nanny cam footage in court. The entire room went silent as Alex injected his sleeping father. Gasps when he wrote the note, when he kissed Harold's forehead, still alive, unconscious, and whispered, "Sorry, Dad, it's just business." Harold testified on February 14, walked into court on crutches, thin, scarred, but alive. The courtroom erupted, reporters scrambling. Alex wouldn't look at him. I testified too, told the jury about the boy Alex used to be, the man he'd become, how I'd missed the signs, how I'd trusted him with everything. Laura took a plea, 10 years for accessory after the fact. Alex was convicted on all counts: attempted murder, kidnapping, conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery, life without parole. When the verdict was read, he finally looked at me, tears in his eyes. "Mom, I'm sorry." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Harold came home in April 2024, weak but home. We slept in separate rooms at first. He had nightmares. Woke up screaming, thinking he was still chained. Therapy helped. Time helped. Love helped most of all. We donated the entire insurance settlement, $100,000 the company paid for emotional distress, to suicide prevention and gambling addiction charities, named it the Harold Coleman Recovery Fund. Emily visits now. She's 15, confused, angry, but healing. She calls us every Sunday, sometimes cries. We listen. Our house is quieter now, but it's ours. The basement is finished, a family room with photos of happier times. The tire swing still hangs from the oak tree. I am 65, Harold is 68. We hold hands on the porch every evening, watch the sunset, talk about everything and nothing. Greed nearly destroyed us. Love saved us. And truth, slow, painful, relentless, set us free. Thank you for listening to my story. It took a lifetime to live it and hours to tell it properly. If you've stayed with me this long, I hope you felt every moment, because some stories aren't meant to be rushed. They're meant to be remembered.